Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about M.A.S.K toys, the resurgence of them if they will come out. I want to talk about the issues with making toys in 2022 for M.A.S.K. I want to talk about the possibility of a live action movie, where it's at or not. And I'm also going to talk about things like scale, things like models of cars, things that you got to talk about if you bring M.A.S.K back, because there's a huge, massive following, and people want more M.A.S.K. We'll talk about this and more coming up. So the first question that everybody is going to have when it comes to M.A.S.K in 2022, 2022, 23, 24, 25, whenever it does come out, is scale. What size are we going to use? The original M.A.S.K figures were 2.5 inch. The G.I. Joes were 3.75. The modern G.I. Joes are 4 inch. And what you see there is a carbonized Sith Trooper. It's a Stormtrooper, more or less, for a 6 inch scale. So what scale would you want to see your M.A.S.K in? And I actually think that after looking at all this, factoring it all in, 4 inch scale is probably the way to go, even though 4 inch is almost dead on the current toy aisle at Walmart and Target. These are 4 inches customs made by Chris. They are outstanding. They're amazing. This guy is very talented, and he has picked his scale, and 4 inch is his scale. Now, this day and age, we have the 6 inch craze, but 6 inch won't work for a lot of reasons. First of all, vehicles. So the next big issue, or still within this whole scale issue, is vehicles. When you look at M.A.S.K, the illusion is the ultimate weapon. The illusion was the vehicles, and these vehicles themselves were the selling point. The vehicles sell the toy line. The conversion of the vehicles is a big deal. And the fact that if the figures are 2.5 inch, the vehicles are a bit small. If you go 4 inch, they are going to be bigger. How much bigger? We're about to see. But if you went 6 inch, vehicles would not exist. No 6 inch toy line has a plethora of vehicles that could even quarter rival M.A.S.K. Okay, so next issue that we really need to talk about is the scale of the vehicles. Scale of the figures equals scale of the vehicles, and there's a couple of things to be concerned about. So I picked the DeLorean, and it fits 3.75 inch figures. It was made by, I think, an Entertainment Earth exclusive way back in the day, but it fits the 4 inch figures actually very well. Maybe it's a little bit big, but since the gold wing door design matches up to Thunderhawk, I picked that one too. Now I did pick the Thunder Machine next to Thunderhawk for a 3.75 inch from the vintage era of G.I. Joe, and I'm really thinking that you could make the vehicles about that size. I think it's a little bit closer to what we would expect, and I can really see this working out. So I'm hoping for or expecting a 4 inch figure and a scale of G.I. Joe type vehicles for this line if they ever release it at retail, or even if they release it as fan channel exclusives. Either way, it would be awesome, and I think that's the scale, because 6 inch is almost impossible. So next we got to get into media. Now obviously there is already a cartoon out there. That is a 65 episode season 1 with 10 episodes in season 2 for a total of 75 episodes for the cartoon. But Hasbro cannot just accept and make figures, vehicles, a toy line based off of old content. G.I. Joe, maybe? G.I. Joe old content actually is what's bringing the classified line to life, the O-ring line to life, the HasLab to life, but it's still not good enough for M.A.S.K. So according to Geek Culture and probably 10 other sites, back in 2020, February 2020, 2 years ago, it's been for 1.5 years, so we've had an update. But the biggest update is that we're getting a writer from Bad Boys. So looking at this, Chris Bremner to write the live action M.A.S.K for Paramount and Hasbro is supposed to be something going on right now, but there has been no update for this specifically. It's going to be produced by F. Gary Gray. He's supposed to be attached to the project, and the thing about all of this is that it seemed like there was a lot going on, but some little got in the way of all of these plans. Actually, later in 2020, in October, they actually started talking about Ryan Reynolds reportedly eyed for Hasbro's M.A.S.K movie. You know, the guy from Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, later shortened to Two Guys and a Girl. What did the other guy and the girl do with his life? Anyway, Ryan Reynolds is being eyed for the role of Matt Tracker, and the other guy probably makes YouTube videos talking about Transformers. Now, staying on the topic of the movie, I want to say that M.A.S.K would really make a lot of sense as a live action movie. There are real vehicles, real human beings, real things like a mask and some CGI in there, some camera tricks, whatever. But at the end of the day, this makes more sense than any of the Marvel, DC, or any of that kind of stuff going on out there. This is so much more real world because literally you just put some hydraulics in there, add some cannons and some machine guns, and you've literally got James Bond M.A.S.K. So the next big question is, do you use the old vintage style of cars and vehicles and airplanes and trucks? Or do we go with something more modern? Now, I personally want to see the old late 70s, early 80s style of vehicles that they utilized in the cartoon. So when you look at this, the Jeep is still a Jeep. A Jeep is relevant no matter what. So I'm sure you could work in an orange Jeep, looks slightly modernized, it would work out. But there's newer Camaros out there, so you'd have to go with a licensing with GM and all of that kind of stuff, adding costs. They'd probably make up their own designs if they did this in the future. Like Jackhammer, the Ford Bronco, but with Rhino, we still have lots of semi-trucks on the road today that look exactly like this. And I think they painted them themselves to look just like Rhino. I mean, they're messing with me whenever I see one on the road. Next, I want to talk about the packaging. Now, I really would love to see if they put these figures out even in the 4-inch scale, bigger figures, bigger box, bigger vehicles. I'd like to see this with a retro style packaging. But here's the thing. Here's the key. Instead of the red, why not blue or orange or some other color than the red to differentiate this from vintage? Now, I know a lot of collectors really do want to say, I want it exactly like it was back in the day. But you know, we never really get that from the get-go, from Hasbro, or even from Mattel. Well, Mattel's a little bit better about it, but at the end of the day, I would love to see as close to vintage packaging as possible, even if they're bigger, even if they don't really mesh well with your current collection. I want it to mesh better than some weird, crazy, nonsense packaging that they'd come up with off the cuff. Next is to get the Hasbro make Wolf Beast, make all of these rare vehicles that are expensive on the secondary market, hard to get, but guess what? Those will be a serious challenge for Hasbro to put out because they are rare, because they were not popular back in the day. They were not figures, vehicles that were desired by kids or even collectors at the time. So nowadays collectors want these, but they will not be appealing to the broad audience. If they came out and they tried to do all of the split second series, they would flop big time. Because first off, most people don't even really care about split second series vehicles. They only care about them because of the value, not because of the inherent enjoyment of the vehicle. Now, a lot of people didn't have this. They don't have the memories to share with it. So therein lies another major issue, a major problem with bringing M.A.S.K to retail. Most people think, haha, I'm going to get all of the $400 vehicles for 30, 40, 50 bucks. Now, again, we get into price point. So how much will this cost at retail if they even decided to go forward with it? Well, first off, they're not going to do 2.5-inch figures and make them the original scale. It's just not going to happen. It's not viable in 2022. They're not going to go 6-inch and no vehicles at all. They would have to do 4-inch, and they would have to do the vehicles to be much bigger, like G.I. Joe vehicles. So with that, today, in today's standard, G.I. Joe vehicles are HasLab projects, by the way. Sky Striker, Rattler, anything that's going to be bigger than a Sky Striker or in the same department is a HasLab project, a dream project that could never get done any other way. So looking at all of these factors in here, I see the cheapest one being something like Condor, the tiny one. If a current figure costs $14 and a vehicle added to it, it's got to be 20. It's got to be 20. 15 to 20, no, 20 minimum for a Condor, end of story. And then you start working your way up from there, and so the price on these could be anywhere from $20 to $100 at retail on the shelf, and that actually does scare retailers. Retailers don't want to stock something on the shelf for $100 because it doesn't sell. They barely want to put something in there for $80. That's Commander class Transformers. So with all of this, the price is now almost prohibitive at retail. So I'm curious what you think about Kenner M.A.S.K making a resurgence at retail. Do you think it's viable? Do you think it'll work? Do you think that we can overcome all of these massive issues? Well, could Hasbro, or could a movie with massive star power from a pizza guy actually take this franchise to where it belongs? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about this and how you think it could actually turn out in the future, realistically. Like, subscribe to Hanger. Out.